When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power, and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can share the thrill with friends using our exclusive Bet Share feature.
We're back with the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Churchill Downs exclusively for Stephen Foster Preview Day. And Darin, I'll start things off with you and let's talk about that card. So what's your best bet of the week on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a fantastic betting card, Ashley. I'm late on the card, actually. Race number 11. It's the Audubon Stakes going a mile and an eighth over the turf course. I'm a fan of Cameo Performance, who was a debut winner in terms of her first start in his first start in North America back at Keeneland on April the 14th, where he had a good inside-out trip where he rated kindly, then swung to the outside for Tyler Gaffleone, and he just kind of levels off real nicely here and just pulls away. This looks like a horse that's just going to keep getting better as the races go longer and get further. But for his second lifetime start, first start off the layoff. And what I also like is the gap back to the next to third place finisher. That's always a key component of watching replays for me. And it's also worth mentioning that the horse that you saw run second there was a horse by the name of Green Light. Green Light didn't just come back to win. He came back to win by 10 in a maiden special weight 2 weeks ago at Churchill Downs. So Cameo Performance not only beat a next out winner, but beat a next out winner that beat a 12-horse field by the length of the stretch. I think this is a very talented horse for Brendan Walsh. Tyler Gaffleone back aboard. There's some speed in here, but not a ton. I think he's going to sit a good forward trip here, get first run on the closers, and I look for him to really stamp himself as a major player in the 3-year-old turf stakes division going forward.
I have this horse circled as well, but I'm actually going a different angle for my best bet. I'm in the same race. So before I get to that, I'll go to James. What is your best bet?
Well, I mean, can I pick a horse on the fly in the Audubon Stakes?
Go for it.
I'm going to do number 6, Dreamlike, 4-1 odds in the Blame Stakes, race 10 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Now, Dreamlike was not the most consistent performer last year. I mean, that goes without saying. He was competing in graded stakes while still a maiden. But I think he is set for a top showing in his second start back as a 4-year-old this year for Todd Pletcher. He off of this fine comeback effort at Keeneland. Now, in this race at Keeneland, he dropped back to 4th early, and Cagliostro, in front of him, number 10. He's out on the front end, setting like 24-1, 48.34, 112 at 0.2. He had everything his own way in a sense for most of that race. Cagliostro did. And Dreamlike didn't really get going until the latter half of the far turn, just ran out of room in the short stretch at Keeneland. But the thing I'm encouraged about is that his best races in his career, his 3 best efforts have come at a mile and an eighth. He broke his maiden at a mile and an eighth. He ran a half-length second to Saudi Crown in the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby at a mile and an eighth. And he ran a good neck third in the Wood Memorial at the same distance. So I know he's better at 9 furlongs. He's the type that's always looked like he's going to get better with experience and with age. And I thought that was a really nice comeback effort to build upon. I look for him to get a good setup in this race and run a big race. I mean, his main rival in there, in my eyes, is his stablemate Tapit Trice. He's first start since August. I'll take Dreamlike at a better expected price in his comeback effort, Ashley.
Yeah, he had a huge Brisnet speed figure 3 back on a sloppy track. We're going to have rain on Saturday, so we might get a sloppy track. And he was beaten just a half length in that race, the Pennsylvania Derby. So I really like this horse. I'll be talking about the morning line favorite because I'm going to fade him in this particular race. But I'll take it back over to the Audubon and talk about my best bet, which is number 5, Formidable Man at 5-1. And this is a City of Light colt who won 2 back at today's distance of 1 1/8 of a mile on the turf. And then he had the lead through the stretch, but was caught at the 16th pole last out in the Grade 2 American turf. He's dropping back down in class here from Michael McCarthy, coming off a career best 96 Brisnet speed figure. And he put in a bullet workout on May 25th. Now, I was looking at Cameo Performance, but his Brisnet speed figures are pretty light compared to some of the others in the field. And especially for Middleman with that 96 breast net speed figure, I really like seeing that. So I'm going to go with him instead in this angle, but Cameo Performance certainly I'm intrigued by as well because he has 2 very solid workouts recently at Churchill as well.
Yeah, that Brisnet speed figure for the last race, I really didn't get because it was a really quick tempoed race up front early. The 2 horses that were in front kind of pulled away, and the horse actually earned the best Ragozin figure in the field of 11.5 in that most recent start as well, which is really the speed figure that I really pay a lot of attention to in my handicapping. So I thought that 83 number that you referenced might have come up a little bit light, and I don't think it's a real reflection of his chances here.
I will say that, obviously in that American turf, the favorite in there who ran 5th came back and won the Grade 2 Pennine Ridge. I thought that was a pretty good field. Even the 3rd place finisher that day, Laganos, he's back in the Audubon, and he didn't have the cleanest trip in that start. So that's a dynamite stake race to complete the 6 stakes at Churchill on Saturday.
James, you're going to make a pick on the fly?
I liked Laganos. I liked him last time going second time turf for Steve Asmussen. I hate to say I played him at 36-1. And I just thought he was mired on the inside with nowhere to go throughout the far turn. And it wasn't until he got him off the rail in like mid-stretch that he really kicked well. And I looked for a better trip. I definitely, though, Cameo Performance, that effort caught me. And Formidable Man, I mean, he did a lot of, he's definitely a candidate to keep moving forward. Even Cagino. I mean, this is an excellent race. I liked how Nomos went to the turf last time and won. It's one of the better stakes on the card from a gambling perspective.
Sounds like none of us are backing the morning line favorite in that race, but let's talk about our other fades at a short price. So, James, who is yours?
I'm going to fade number 1, Ottoman Fleet at 9-5 odds in the Arlington Stakes at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Now, granted, last year, Ottoman Fleet would drill this field. I mean, he was in good field last year, point blank. He won the Fort Marcy after running well against Nation's Pride in Dubai. He then won the Fort Marcy, and then he went and ran 3rd to Up to the Mark. But he came back last time in this Fort Marcy, and for no reason whatsoever, he drifted out at stretch. But this is the point that really gets me, guys. Had every opportunity to get by Masterpiece. I don't think Masterpiece could win this race on Saturday. He was coming off of a 3rd in a Keeneland allowance. Dominican Pioneer beat him in his previous start. I think Ottoman Fleet is off form at age 6. This is his 6th start since like December 29th. I think this is going to be, he's due for a freshening after he gets beat on Saturday in the Arlington. And when I see a horse sort of go the wrong way in a sense, that was not a good race by him last time. I want to play against them at short odds in the next start. So I'm going to fade the big favorite in race 6, the Arlington Stakes, number 1, Ottoman Fleet.
There's a horse in here I like to back a lot at Churchill, Smokin' Tea at 5-1, and he's kind of a horse for the course, but also likes some given the turf, which we're probably going to get. So I might be backing him at that price. There's a couple others in there too, but I like your angle in fading him, James. What about you, Darin?
I think Ottoman Fleet's going to win. So,
part of it is that I really did not like the trip from Smokin' Tea. He ran 3rd last time. I didn't like the ride that Velasquez gave him, and I'm looking for a much better performance from him as well. You're taking on one of these favorites sometimes in a Grade 3 race like this. You better have an alternative to beat him, and I think Smokin' Tea is going to improve upon that 3rd in the opening verse on Saturday.
No, I get it. I thought that Ottoman Fleet was a victim of circumstance in one of those typical paceless New York turf events in the Fort Marcy last time, which is kind of why I forgave the fact that he didn't go by the leader. And on top of that, again, Ragozin figures he ran an 8 last time, which is the fastest last race in the field. So I don't necessarily know how off form he is. I would give him another shot.
I would just say he did run by the leader. He got like a 3/4 length in front, and then he drifted out in upper stretch, and that let Masterpiece come back on his inside. But we saw Lines of Power. Is it Lines? Who won the Pennine Ridge last week?
Yeah, Lines of
Yeah, he bounced back from a 5th at Churchill Downs in his previous start. So it's not out of the question. Listen, Ottoman Fleet was really good, I thought, last year. So I'm taking a shot against him this time around at short odds in a Grade 3. If he had won that Fort Marcy, I think he would have been in the Grade 1 Manhattan potentially.
Well, Darren, who else are you fading at a short price this week?
In the regret stakes, I'm going to fade it's race number 9, number 6 Buku, who's the morning line favorite, who disappointed as the favorite last time out at Churchill Downs. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go back to her in this spot and just point to the yielding turf course that day, and I get it. But I thought she had a pretty good trip. She had every opportunity to rally in the stretch and really just didn't offer much punch. Now, I understand if you don't like the going, you're not going to show that same turn of foot. That's fine. But when I look back through her past performances, she really didn't beat much when she broke her maiden. I wasn't a huge fan of the Jessamine field last year. The field that she beat in the Appalachian included Dancing in Dixie, who's 2 for 9 lifetime and is always pace and trip compromised. So I really question just how good Buku is, to be honest with you. And I just think one of these other fillies that are maybe up and coming up through the allowance ranks, more rapidly developing, are more prone to pick her off in a spot like this. So I played against her on Derby Day. I'm going to play against her as well on Saturday in race number 9, the regret. I'm against Buku, guys.
I
I
agree
don't
with you.
even, I like that. I'm against Buku and Kajera. I mean, Phil Bowers 1 for 14, and that one win came with Encore, and I couldn't see any way in the world he could have lost that race. So to me, I'm like, until I start seeing that stable start winning races, I'm inclined to, play against them in tough spots at short odds. One thing's for certain, the Phil Bauer horse is his 13 losses at the meet. A lot of them have been short price losers.
Well, I'm going to take it back to the blame where James has already given his best bet, and I'm going to talk about the morning line favorite and why I'm fading Highland Falls at 5-2. This is a curling colt who won on debut back in August at Ellis Park and then won 2 more facing Allowance Company, but since jumping up to Stakes Company has not been able to win and also has not won beyond 1 1/16 of a mile. I think there's a lot of tough competition in this field, and I will note there are 3 runners who might scratch from this field. They're all long shots, but also early pace setters. And Highland Falls is a late runner, so that might shake up the pace scenario a little bit. But Uncle Jake at 30-1, Classic Causeway at 30-1, and 5-Star General at 30-1 may all scratch from this race because of how recently they raced here at Churchill. But I think there are a couple runners here that have a shot. Dreamlike, I really like in this field as well. If you're looking for a long shot, Frosted Departure could end up being the only or the lone speed in this race and just went gate to wire in a stakes last out for Kenny McPeak. So could be worth backing at a huge price. I also think War Campaign. And then you got Trademark, who's another horse for the course who is kind of off form at the moment, but might show up here. You just never know. And I feel like he shows up when he's got a good price as well. He's 12-1 on the morning line. So I'm taking a stand against 5-2 morning line favorite. Just don't think he is that much better than the rest of the field.
Watch out for that 5-Star General at a price. That Grant Forster's been hot. He's got a couple horses. He's got a couple horses on Thursday and Friday I like this week too.
Yeah, huge price. I think if he weren't coming off such a short rest, I mean,
I'm not saying he's going to win, but he could in the mix.
Well, before we move on to what else is going on this weekend, Darren, what promos do we have?
Yeah, we're kind of at that in-between period between Memorial Day weekend, which has a lot of stakes. You got a big card at Churchill. We got Belmont next week. But this weekend, we're really focused on Churchill Downs with the selected races. Money Back takes place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of every single weekend. So be sure to check out which races. I think we've got 4 stakes races selected on the Saturday card as part of the Money Back as well. So be sure to head to the TwinSpires.com offers page. Check out those races and take part in the Churchill Downs Money Back every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tonight, Thursday, we got Twilight Racing. We got a leaderboard for you. $2,500 up for grabs on the Thursday leaderboard contest only at TwinSpires. You opt in, you make your win wagers. Horses run first, second, or third. You earn points back just for placing in the top 3. Watch yourself climb the standings and take a big piece of that pie, the $2,500. And we'll also mention Mondays at Presque Isle Downs. Their meet is underway. We're going to give you 10 times wager rewards points at Presque Isle Downs every Monday as well. So once again, go to the offers page and opt in. And we'll just give you a little bit of a tease that we've got a big, and I mean big, Belmont at Saratoga offer coming at you next week. So be sure to get ready. That should be up on our offers page over the weekend. But you'll see it, and I think all the players will be happy to see it as well.
Yeah, I don't know what that offer is. I'm excited to find out. But before we get to that next week, tell me what you're looking forward to this weekend, Darren.
Yeah, one of the interesting races, and we didn't get into it. Race number 8, it's the Shawnee Stakes, and just a fascinating race from a standpoint of you have a couple of fillies in here that are looking to bounce back and get back on track. Wet Paint, who went into the Kentucky Oaks as the favorite, won the Coaching Club of America Oaks last year, but her recent form, Breeders' Cup Distaff, the Apple Blossom, obviously she's not been back to her best. So curious to see if she could rebound in her second race back of the year. And the other one being Zygera. What do you do with her? Connections, Phil Bauer said they found absolutely nothing wrong with her in the La Troyenne Stakes. Physically, she seemed completely fine, but she didn't run a step that day. They attribute it potentially to the racetrack. You're getting a look at her here, dominating the Fall City last year in November at Churchill Downs when she was at the peak of her form. So which version of Zygera does show up? We'll have to wait and see. And they're both going against a couple of fillies that are getting hot. Scylla came back off a third-place effort in the Double Dog Dare to dominate back in 2 weeks for trainer Bill Mott on Kentucky Derby Day at a short price. And Hoosier Philly came back with one of her better efforts in the Dig a Diamond Stakes last time out for trainer Tom Amos. So I just thought that the Shawnee is a really fascinating puzzle and is probably going to pave the way to how this division might shake out moving forward behind, obviously, the division leader, Idiomatic. But I thought it was a very interesting race, guys.
I'm fascinated by how Bill Mott's adding blinkers to Celia off of that win on Derby week. Maybe that will keep her closer in the early stages. I thought in that Double Dog Dare, she got way too far back. I mean, sometimes she can drop way far back in her start. She needs to be more of mid-pack trip and then make her run like she did last time at Churchill. Looked real impressive, I thought, Celia.
So, James, what else are you watching for?
Okay, well, we've gone over. We got 6 stakes at Churchill this Saturday. It's Stephen Foster Preview Day. TwinSpires.com is going to have wagering on Saturday's 244th edition of the English Derby at Epsom. I'll be taking a look at that race for sure on Saturday morning. And I'm excited for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival at Saratoga next week. So I'm looking for a horse to try to build the bankroll with this weekend. And I've landed on number 8, Under the Palms, who's in the third race at Churchill Downs on Saturday, listed at 10-1 on the morning line. This Indiana-bred daughter of Entice made progress in her first 3 starts. She finally broke through with a maiden win here on the Arkansas Derby undercard. This horse on the inside, Bonacqua, had run a good second to Navy Bell 2 starts previously. Navy Bell won by 5 last weekend, headed to stakes races, is really good for, used to be Mark Glad, it's Michael Ewing now. And that was a good rival because Banqua had everything on her own way. Under the Palms, raced closer from the start that afternoon, reeled her in an upper stretch, and even the runner-up who came running, who was 4-1, is a promising filly as well. I thought that was a very salty maiden special weight race on the Arkansas Derby undercard. I loved Under the Palms' performance. Last time out, I know you can see this comment line, stumble, but if you haven't seen her nearly hit her head and barely keep the jockey aboard, she stumbled as badly as you can. Under the Palms did last time. It completely, I thought, cost her any chance because she was dead last going into the first turn. The winner that day, a nice horse for Mike Maker, had everything her own way, Thorny on the front end. Under the Palms is going to improve significantly upon that effort. There's not a lot of speed in here. I'll look for her to be prominent from the start with Brian Hernandez and prove best in race 3. What else are you looking for, Ashley?
So I was going to mention on Sunday, we have one more grade 3 at Churchill. It's the Old Forester Mint Julep Stakes. This is 1 1/16 of a mile on the turf for fillies and mares. And we have last year's winner, Henrietta Topham, who a little bit longer shot that is looking to defend her title. Has a little bit more competition this time around, only faced 4 rivals last year, and it's going to be hard to beat number 7 Delahaye, I think, who was 2-1 on the morning line, looking to bounce back after she finished third to her stablemate Chili Flag in the Distaff Turf Mile on the Kentucky Derby undercard. Prior to that, she had won 3 straight, including a stakes, and she's facing Graded Stakes Company for the second time. She's probably going to be the winner here, but I think Heavenly Sunday for Brad Cox is also going to be interesting. Won the Edgewood at 1 1/16 of a mile in 2023, and then has been pretty inconsistent. Last win came on the dirt when the event was taken off the turf, the Mrs. Revere. But the other horse I'm interested in is number 6, Amincitude, who is a Bill Mott trainee, and this is a French-bred runner who performed best at 101/8 of a mile and on softer turf, which, again, with rain in the forecast this weekend, maybe we're going to get that. She made her debut for Mott's Barn last out in a 101/8 mile allowance at Keeneland and finished a 2-length third as the favorite, so could bounce back here. We'll see what happens, but I'm still thinking Delahaye might be top of the class.
Yeah.
Y'all looked at the race.
She got squeezed there in late stretch. I thought she wasn't going to win, obviously, but it affected her a little bit in that battle, maybe to try to run second.
I'm really fascinated with James's horse, Under the Palms. You don't see too many Indiana breds make their first 5 starts in Saratoga and Oakland. There's good money to be made in the Indiana bred program, the stakes races there. She would be 2 to 5 in just about every stake race at Horseshoe Indianapolis this meet. So the fact that they're keeping her at Churchill and Oakland at Saratoga, very interesting. I certainly would have had her at Horseshoe trying to rack up as much purse money as I could.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Head to twinspires.com or the app for those promos Darin mentioned, and we'll be back next week with more best bets and fades.